Hey guys, I just wanted to do a quick video here showing you guys the knives that I brought to Georgia Bushcraft besides my own. Now, things have been pretty crazy leading up to Georgia Bushcraft, and I still have Georgia Bushcraft videos to upload. However, I wanted to get this done, but was not able to get to it until just right now. Things are kind of crazy, and I'm going to have a lot of really long nights coming up here while I try to get everything done before Blade Show, before my daughter is born, and while I have all of this other work to do. So without further ado, I'm just going to go down the line. I'm going to talk about all of these really cool knives, relatively briefly, talk about how people liked them at the show and why I brought them. So let's just get right into this little discussion of some really freaking cool knives. All right, so here we go. We're just going to go down the line and talk about these, some more briefly than others. Now, I carried these out here in my combat art training micro backpack. He doesn't actually have this, I don't think, listed on the website anymore, but he makes some absolutely premium gear. Now, I would say the two favorite knives that I brought out here were probably the Survive Knives GSO 3.5 and the White River Knife and Tool Ursus Cub. Now, why did I bring these knives? Well, I did a demonstration on knife performance and edge geometry and taught a class while at Georgia Bushcraft Spring Gathering. This is 2024. And I brought these mostly as demonstrators, but also as not just a guy representing my own knife brand, Exodus Knife and Tool, but as a YouTuber who mostly reviews knives and absolutely loves knives, I wanted to show some of the stuff that I love and that I'm currently really stoked about. Quick side note, I believe that would be a whole bunch of poison oak. I don't think that's poison ivy. I think that's poison oak. I could be wrong. It's poison one or the other. So that's pretty cool. All right. So one of the first ones. Now, my picture here, I mainly played with these with the Houghton Era Outdoors guys who are represented on the table here. And I'll talk about that in a second. Really cool dudes and just knife enthusiasts. So guys, check out Houghton Era Outdoors. They have knife designs manufactured by Tops. They make their own knives. They have a YouTube channel. They have a website. I'm going to put links to them in the description box below. Really solid dudes. Oh, and we're talking about this from Georgia Bushcraft. Guys, if you are a knife guy or bushcraft guy, come to Georgia Bushcraft. Bring your whole family. Bring your kids. It is the most family-friendly, dog-friendly, bushcraft, knife-friendly event that exists. It will be worth your trip. So, without further ado, this is my Ursus Cub, and I got one of these limited edition Ursus Cubs with the GL Hansen & Sons Mexican Blanket micarta. The sheath, before I pop it off, the sheath is great. It is a fantastic sheath. Now, Armatis Carry Solutions is making a taco sheath that has a little bit smaller footprint, but for factory Kydex, this is very modular, very good Kydex. It comes with a ferro rod holder, a belt loop, and adjustable retention. So you can probably wear this about however you want. It's got all of these features right out of the box, making an amazing value. And fantastic quality on this sheath. Guys, this knife is an absolute legend. It's easy to carry, it's compact. These are in Magna Cut, and the edge comes in, I think, at either 15 or 17 thou behind the edge. So we're talking about a bushcraft knife that is like as thin behind the edge as a kitchen knife. Look at that finish. Look at my finger in the finish. This knife is absolutely beautiful. I believe personally that this is very likely going to be White River Knife and Tools' flagship model. I'm not speaking for them. That's just my opinion based on how popular this knife is already and how just perfect it is for the market. Next up, I'm going to talk about the Survive Knives GSO 3.5. Now, this knife is absolutely fantastic. Again, it was a fan favorite out there. The sheath is absolutely fantastic. A little bit thicker kydex here. Wonderful retention. No rattle or anything like that. I do think it's a little bit large for the size of the knife. So if you're going to wear this on the belt, that doesn't matter. All right, that won't matter to you most likely on the belt. It is still versatile. It rides a little bit high with this particular clip setup, which is not my favorite, but there are other ways to do it. But for a knife that's comparably sized to the Ursus Cub, the sheath is just a little bit large and thick and beefy. Again, not a bad thing, but maybe not as good a fit to the size of the knife as the Ursus Cub sheath. Our edge here comes in at about 25 thou. This one is CPM 20 CV. Not as good of a choice potentially for a bushcraft knife. However, this is a small knife. How much abuse is it going to go through? Probably not more than the steel can handle given the size. And it is a performer. It is going to hold an edge a very long time. It is absolutely beautiful. The handle on this knife fills the hand and is a little bit more comfortable under force than the White River. However, that makes it a little bit bigger and bulkier, and since the edge geometry is a little bit thicker, you have to use more force. The White River is not tiresome because the edge geometry is so thin that you never have to use that much force to do what you're doing. So the larger handle, it is a wonderful 3D contoured Coke bottle handle, just really about perfect. It's fantastic. Now, I think that this knife would be better in Magna Cut or another steel with higher toughness and a thinner edge? Sure, but the only reason that you would ever think that this isn't literally the perfect bushcraft belt knife is if you've used that one. And it could go either way, which one someone would prefer. Talk about just some beautifully, beautifully finished knives. Just absolutely on point. All right. So next up, let's talk about the Houghton era Kermit. So these are made by my buddies, Nate and Aaron. And when it comes to handle geometry, we are talking about a whole different thing. Now, normally, when a knife is thin, or short is the correct term, down here at the pommel, it can cause hand fatigue. However, due to the specific shape of this knife, and of course because of the blade design, it's not an issue. This handle works so well. It's crazy how well this little knife works. Now, I got this one last fall at the gathering. I traded the guys over there, and so our edge is a little bit thicker, and I think we're sitting at about 35 thou with this little guy. They're super stout. They're super beefy. People are pounding on these things. They're as tough as can be. They're going a little bit thinner now, and I do think that that's the right direction for the guys because this blade is so short that for what it's designed for, I don't think that you need a thick, ultra beefy edge. I would even try and bring this guy down to about at least 20 thou behind the edge, if not 15 thou behind the edge. But with the thicker edge, okay, a thicker edge, you have to use more force, right? With this blade length and this handle design, it's very easy to use to apply a lot of force without using a lot of effort. You get a lot of leverage, so it just works. It's so unique. It's so cool. This one came in a very nice leather sheath. I saw some Kydex out there on the table. Those guys, they just do really cool stuff. Now, next up, the White River Knife and Tool PKO. Again, for factory production Kydex, this is 10 out of 10. Now, if I paid for this Kydex from a custom maker, would it be a 10 out of 10? No. It would be maybe a 9 out of 10 or an 8 out of 10. That is to say, this Kydex is so freaking good that there's a good chance if you pay for something custom, it's not going to be better. I mean, it's fantastic. It's modular. I might drop this belt loop. I'm not 100% sure yet. I might go with an Odysee clip. It just depends on how I'm going to use the knife. We've got a bow drill divot. This was designed by Jason Teets. This ring here, this is not a flashy fighter boy ninja ring. This is so if this is like down low in your pack or somewhere, it's easy for you to grab it and get it out mostly. You don't have to use it for the knife to be comfortable in hand. In fact, I never use it with the knife in hand. You can if you want, but it's not an option that's there that has to be used for the first thing that everybody thinks of using it for, which is this, which is not even a thing. It's a handy way to grab this knife when it's down deep. Now, we have a Scandi grind, obviously, with an ultra micro bevel. So on this particular example, I would not call this a true Scandi, but it is so close that when this thing will absolutely eat some wood. I mean, in hand, you're not really going to notice the difference between this and a true zero grind. The only time you would be when you're sharpening it. So you're going to sharpen or strop this guy like a traditional knife and pretty much get the performance of a true Scandi with a little bit of extra toughness. And guys, in my opinion, a lot of times when people try and make a tough Scandi grind, they add that micro bevel or they over convex it. They make it too thick and you lose all of the benefits of the Scandi grind, which just leaves you with a knife with an absolutely horrible saber grind. Not the case here. All right, this boy is the Bussy or Bussy, excuse me, Hellraiser 2. Didn't come with a sheath. I'm planning, I think, on sending this to Michael Spaniers at Spirit of the Bear Designs. Crazy 3D milled blade to reduce friction. I'm not 100% sure if that works as intended or how well it works as compared to if those bevels weren't there. I can't say for sure yet, but not a chopping knife at all. I heard someone talk about how good of a chopper it is for a combat knife. I can say I can't agree with that. However, it's a fantastic do-it-all knife. I have used and abused the absolute heck out of this blade. It's very barely slightly bent out of true because I bent this thing to like, I don't know, a 70-degree angle while twisting it. It was crazy. I will say this is a tough knife. I'm really impressed. All right, so I don't know where the heck I was with that, but I used the knife for the batoning. Folks liked it. It's cool. The one thing I want to say about INFI or INFI is you have something like 3V toughness. You have some good corrosion resistance, but the ease of sharpening and stropping so far is what blows me away about this steel and makes me think that it is the stuff. It is really freaking legendary. I'm so far absolutely a fan. All right, moving on. The Hunter's EDC. I think this is one of 3 or 4 customs or semi-customs. This is a full custom that I even brought. It was loved. My Odysee clip needs a little bit of attention. That is life. By the way, go to exodusknifeandtool.com and get yourself one of my Light Unto Your Path lanyard beads. All right, done with self-advertising. Love these handle scales. This was the first primitive bear knife ever made. If you don't know, before Primitive Bear Knives, it was Primitive Bear Knives. It was Papa Bear Knives, but he had to change names due to some stuff with some other maker who just started calling himself Papa Bear Knives. Whatever. This knife is fantastic. Nice and thin behind the edge. It feels so good in hand. It's just the perfect sized little knife. Came with just great kydex. Very cool. Of course, I had a jackalope. I'm only going to talk about this for about a second. We're at 22 thou behind the edge. In my opinion, fantastic kydex. It's red and white high vis because red is the last color the human eye can see as light is failing. Red and white is high contrast. And red and white is internationally automatically associated with emergency. Of course, we use this, but everybody already knew this knife well at the show, so I guess no more self-advertisement there. If you aren't familiar though, made by White River Knife and Tool, no questions asked, lifetime guarantee. And this is about as much knife as you can put into your pocket comfortably and EDC and be able to use it. Now this is one that I need to do a lot more YouTube footage on. This is from Half Breed Blades. This little compact rescue axe. Pretty thin behind the edge, but I mean, it's basically for chopping through like car doors and stuff. So it's a full tang axe made of D2. And I brought this and people were using it for pounding tent stakes and stuff like that. I will say, if you've got stupid small little aluminum tent stakes like a lot of us have for stupid awnings and crap, or cheap tent stakes, it can be kind of hard to get good hits on them with the hammer head because they're curved aluminum and they bend and they're bouncy, and this is fairly narrow. So a lot of times they get hit down here or even on the handles. It can take it, no big deal. Cool little blade. And I think I'll just keep this in my rig along with my tools and everything else for if I have to hack through something that desperately needs to be hacked through. It's not what I'd call a good bushcraft axe. It's too thick behind the edge. It's made for abuse. It's more tactical. So, you know, this isn't the axe that I want to bring out for carving a Cusca or much of anything else. It's not a bushcrafting axe. But this is the axe that I'm going to bring if I need to swing an axe in anger or desperation to get something done and just abuse the crap out of it, because it's going to come out of it laughing. I'm planning on chopping through some metal and stuff with this still. Really neat little piece. A really popular knife out there was the new Reef Knives F5. I got the one with the leather sheath, and this leather sheath is from Badger Claw Outfitters and Crazy Horse Leather. Absolutely beautiful. This is a castrum dangler, for whoever's wondering there. It doesn't come with that. You can put it on there. You don't have to. I used just the belt loop and liked it plenty, but sometimes I like the dangler as well. Of course, I've got my bead on there because I love the knife. I've got the bead on a few knives here, so that will be a hint for you. CPM 3V, a little bit higher grind than the F5, and I actually don't think I've measured the edge geo, but being that I am an edge geo, my eyeball has become a micrometer for edges. I would guess that we are between 25 thou and 30 thou. Funny story as we're coming up on this, a custom maker came up to me, showed me his knife. I was like, man, that edge is really thin. That well done, dude. That's awesome. That thing's like 10 thou behind the edge. He said, no, it's not that thin. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I have my micrometer right here. Let's find out. It was 10.5 thou behind the edge. Okay. Then I showed him this Mako, and I was like, actually, I haven't measured this yet. I think that this thing is like probably 12 thou behind the edge. 12 thou behind the edge, like exactly. That's out of control. Yeah, that's just, it's too much. You shouldn't be able to see 2 thous of a difference, but whatever. Okay, so moving on, and we'll get to that in a second. Awesome camp knife. I was hewing a sign, bushcrafting a sign for myself with the old FC7. I've abused the crap out of this blade, and it's got the bow drill divot, again designed by Jason Teets. And what's so cool about this blade is it's under a pound. It's super lightweight, 7-inch blade, and yet because your edge thickness comes in at like 21 thou, it performs way above its weight class, especially in softwood or medium softwood. You lose maybe some of the benefits of that ultra thin edge because of the lightweight and really hard stuff, and then it's just a lighter weight knife like it should be. But like anything that's slightly softer, this thing bites so deep and it punches way above its weight class. And on your belt, it feels like any other knife here. In fact, I would wait. It's probably lighter than the Reef F5. It's so lightweight. You can do so much. This is actually, I haven't even done my initial impressions review on this. So I've mentioned this knife quite a few times. I've included it in quite a few videos. I thought that I had done an initial impressions review on it until someone mentioned it and I looked for it and I don't think I did it. And I'm having a hard time doing the long-term review on it because it's probably ounce for ounce and dollar for dollar the best knife I have ever reviewed on this channel. And so like the bar for what I need to do for the video to demonstrate that is so high. It's kind of intimidating, to be honest. All right, the Creeley Mako. So I traded for this at Blade Show with Creeley. I gave him a jackalope, and later he sent me this Mako, and I could not be happier with this knife. Interesting handle geo. It kind of reminds me of a tadpole. And again, I mentioned a smaller pommel can cause hand fatigue when you're using a lot of force. You're not going to need to use a lot of force with this knife. Like I mentioned earlier, we are at an edge, behind the edge thickness of about 12 thou. Holy crap. I had some commenter get on one of my videos and talk at length, ad nauseum, about how Creeley knives are just gimmick knives or something. No. No, this thing is fantastic. People were blown away. This is probably the third favorite knife on the table behind the other two because people are making feather sticks with this. And they're having to get used to how thin and how easy it was to use. Like, it just glided down through the wood. Like, no resistance. Absolutely beautiful. I would say that this was probably tied for third place, and the sheath that came with it is just beautiful. This is going to age so nicely. Drop it in the pocket, built-in ulti clip. Just as leather sheaths go, especially ones that come with knives, I am a big time fan. I love that thing. I would say the final knife here, also tied for third place, the Very Good Knife Company Wasp. Now, when you compare this knife to that one, you might ask me, Jake, why would this be tied for third place? Excuse me, a bug just flew into my nose. You'll look at the micro bevel right there, the plunge line kind of goes through there, but it's not exactly perfect at the beginning there. The handle doesn't look quite as cool. It's not as good of a material, whatever. It looks, Jake, that looks like a fairly plain little knife. This thing is handmade, not even laser cut for the blank, handmade, hand cut out, hand ground, all done, in the USA, 80 CRV2. This knife, it was, when I got it, was $80. I think they still are when he has batches of them done. And guys, when he makes batches of knives, the price point is so insanely good that they do and they always will sell out immediately. This particular one is hollow ground. They are not all hollow ground. And guys were using this. They were like, this knife performs so freaking well. And I'm sitting there with a bunch of custom knife makers, and I was like, dude, he sells this thing for 80 bucks. They're like, what? How is he making any money? How is he alive? How does he exist? Guys, like, this is amazing. Okay, so I mentioned like the micro bevel or whatever, and the handle isn't 3D contoured and whatever. Look at this Kydex sheath. The rest of these knives I started in their Kydex sheaths and then popped them off. Wonderful retention. This is an awesome sheath. Let me switch hands here. Awesome sheath. Odysee RV2, made in the USA knife. This knife performs just absolutely fantastically. The handle geometry and the edge geometry and the blade geometry all work wonderfully together. And the only way, he is magic. All right. Like, he is undercutting production knife companies and doing an amazing job at it. He's got the Adventure, which is, I think, just slightly larger and taller, but full flat grind. Looks amazing. I think that Very Good Knife Company should become a household name. And, like, if you are watching this, you should own one. We should all own one. Everybody should own one. Like, this should be like the standard. I'm really trying to get him to Georgia Bushcraft. I think he could come to Georgia Bushcraft with like 30 knives or 40 knives or something crazy and sell out of them. Especially if he's next to me in my booth, because I'd be like, hey, you need to buy one of this guy's knives. Check this thing out. Like, it's amazing. And even if he just goes as a visitor, like, bud, come to Georgia Bushcraft. You will be loved. All right, so this has become very long-winded. It was meant to be a quick video. I'm hoping to edit this video tonight, which by edit on this video, I just mean literally splice all of these together in a row and throw it up on the tube and after rendering if I can. I hope you got something out of it. Maybe someone will comment in the description box below and put a timestamp for each knife or something like that if you're only interested in one knife. Or you could just use the scroll bar. I don't freaking know. But this is what I brought, and I'm happy with it. And every year, I go twice a year, so spring and fall, I bring different knives. And in the future, I might even make a little bushcraft station where people can use the knives themselves as well. And have the wood ready and do feather sticks. I think for the fall gathering 2024, I think I might do another edge geometry class and talk about knife performance. And then I think I might do a feather stick class where I bring materials and just spend the whole class talking about feather sticks and helping people make them. So there you go. Oh, and I'm thinking about doing a knife photography class also. I think I could help people get their gram pics on point, except screw Instagram. But whatever, if you're going to take pictures of your knives, let's take nice ones instead of just standing up in front of your bed with your toes hanging out, from directly over the, I can show you how to get some rad pictures there. So, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Guys, seriously, if you're watching this video, come to Georgia Bushcraft for the fall gathering. It's like admission's like $18 per day. I'm pretty sure there's a kid's price and little kids are free. If you've got a good mannered dog, bring your dog. Bring poop bags for your dog. Lots of dogs and lots of dog lovers there. It's like, and you get for that cost, you can take a whole bunch of free classes. All right. You can plan to camp out there, and you will meet the coolest people you've ever met. What are you? Are you a little recluse? Oh. Gosh. Oh, leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Oh, boy. Oh, have a blessed day. Yup.